Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mooney and we're going to talk a little DIY today. But before I do that, I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed to me, everyone who follows me on Twitter. Thank you very much for sticking around. You may have even forgot that you were subscribed, but I thank you anyway. So I've been gone for a while because I had some health issues come up with my family, and had to help them out with some stuff. So I had to take precedence over this. So, but we are back now, and we're going to talk a little DIY today. And today we're going to talk about three different kinds of space. So, space comes in outer space, inner space, head space, but it also comes in working space. So, we're going to go ahead and take a tour around my working space, and I'm going to show you my office and my setup, and then we'll come right back and we'll talk a little bit more about it, okay? Alright, so that was what my office looks like. You'll see that I have 5 different sections set up. They're all separated. Not everybody's going to have the ability in their homes or wherever to set up like I do. I'm very lucky on that. If you don't have that kind of working space, you have to create space. So, for me, I like all of my stuff set out, and I leave it out all the time. I don't have kids or pets or anything that gets into the office, so I don't have to worry about that. If you do, you may need to take extra precautions. Before I got this room cleaned out where I could set it up like this, I actually worked out of a cardboard box. I set my stuff up on the kitchen table when I came home from work on Friday. I did all my mixing, and then I put it all back into the box. That doesn't work the best for me. It may be what you need to do. There are several different kinds of storage that you can use, different things I've seen, a couple of suggestions for it. One of the Facebook groups that I'm in, there's a guy in there that uses a nurse's cart because he has small kids around it. It has locking doors. He can lock the doors on it, open them up. It has all the drawers inside that he can line up his concentrates in. That's what works for him. He actually has a scale sitting on top of it, rolls it out, plugs it in, all of that. Like, that's the way he operates. There's another guy in a Facebook group that I've seen who has the 3-drawer system, like what you saw underneath my workstation, and he took the trays that you get at Walmart to arrange your silverware in the drawer. And he took that and uses those to line up his concentrates in a row so he can find what he wants. I actually kind of borrowed that idea myself. If you didn't, it's hard to see in the video, but in that top drawer is where I keep my extra concentrates for the things that I have 2 of, things I'm running low that I've went ahead and bought backups for, are all arranged down that, in that drawer, down those, down the slots from the silverware. So I mean, that's just a couple of ideas that you can do if you don't have what I have. So it kind of comes down again to personal taste and personal preference. Just whatever works best for you. That's one of the beauties of DIY is, being yourself and doing things the way that you do them. You might want to use a toolbox, one of the big stack-ons with all the drawers in it, something like that. Just whatever you need to do. Alright, so part 2 is actually a little bit metaphysical. I kind of hinted at it a while ago, but it's also headspace. as inside your brain. For me, if I find a recipe on ELR, I can put that into my calculator that I have on my Kindle, and I can knock that out without even thinking about it. That's not an issue for me. I don't really need extra space in my head for that, other than just enough to concentrate on the scale. But if I'm sitting down and working with flavors and trying to create something specific for myself or for, my fiance that I mix for, then I need to be in my little zone kind of thing. So what I personally do is I come in here and sit down at the desk and kind of lay out my flavors. I turn on some music. I've got one of the old school iPods with 10,000 songs on it. I'll turn that on, usually something that's appropriate for what I'm mixing. If I'm doing like something heavy and dark, well, that's the kind of music I want. If it's something light and soft, then that's the kind of music that I want. It just depends. But that's how I get in the mood. I've seen other mixers who just walk in and go, "Ooh, this looks good," and roll with it. And, if that's what you can do, awesome. I can't do that myself. I have a big book of notes. Can't remember if I've showed it in a previous video or not, but I have a big book of notes that I keep. I also have a notepad, and I go back through those and look at flavor notes. I look at notes on ELR. It just depends on what I'm in the mood to create, what I'm in the mood to work with. And I just kind of go from there, and I set the music and set the tone. I know other people who need to meditate and, turn out the lights and light a few candles and just get into their own complete calm, complete quiet, silence. If that's what you need, then that's what you have to do. But you have to get into your headspace to create, and some people have to get into their headspace just to mix. So that's one thing that you need to think about as a beginner is, where am I going with this? What do I want to do? What flavor profile am I working on? And how do I clear my mind and think with my palate? As strange as that may sound, again, a little metaphysical, but really you have to think with your palate. What are you searching for? What are you hungry for? What are you thirsty for? What kind of vape do you want? Okay? Now we're also going to talk about our third type of space, which is another type of headspace. And that's the space that you leave at the top of the bottle. When I mix, this is a 120 ml bottle. I mix it on my recipe book as 115. I leave 5 mils. This is a little bit more than that, but I leave 5 mils of space because that's room to shake the mix when it's time. This one's a long steeper, so it actually has a headspace in it because it didn't have nicotine in it. Or it doesn't have nicotine in it. I've got to add that in a little while. So I don't let the nicotine sit because I leave that space in there for shaking, and oxygen is the enemy of nicotine. Everything that goes bad with nicotine is usually because it was aerated and oxygenated, and that's what you want to avoid. So this I mix up, and I let it sit for 2 months. This is not one of my flavors. This is actually off of ELR. This is a white chocolate Kit Kat. It's pretty good, actually. But it's a long steeper. It really needs a while for that white chocolate to come through and not taste like chalk. So I mix it up, let it sit for 2 months without nicotine in it, and then I try it. If it's ready to go, I know it is now, but when I first mixed it up, I let it sit for 2 months. Then I added my nicotine, shake it up 1 or 2 good times, then let it sit overnight. Then when I go to use it, I'll give it a good hard shake once or twice whenever I go to fill with it, and it's good. You just want to mix your concentrates really hard, not your nicotine. You don't want to over aerate it if you don't absolutely have to. However, that bottle goes to work with me, so it shakes and all that as it rides in the car. But, that can't be helped. That's going to happen to all of them. So, anything that I mix that's going to be an overnighter, something that's only going to take 2 or 3 days, I go ahead and put the nicotine in it, but I still leave the headspace. I shake it really good right after I mix it, and then before I use it the first time. Then after that, it's literally and just enough to make sure that the concentrates and everything is blended well right before I use it. That also kind of helps with the hot spots and the nicotine throat burn that you get if you run into, you know, a massive nicotine in it. Alright, so I hope this video has been helpful, guys, and again, thank you so much for sticking around. There's more videos to come, I promise. Down in the description below, there are my personal links to my PayPal account. If you guys want to contribute to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Any help is greatly appreciated. I thank you all so much for sticking around. There's also advocacy links, and the link to my fiance's. My fiance has a page on Vinted. That's what I'm trying to say. Any ladies out there want to give that a look over? The link for that will be in the description. Also, my Twitter link will be in the description. Again, thank you folks so much for sticking around, and y'all have a good day.